everybody, and welcome to another scandalously popular edition of Golfertainment George and the Florida Insurance Men. I'm your host, Golfertainment George, and the reason I was dancing like that and nobody else was is because I thought we were starting with different music, but that's cool. It's actually apropos because my daughter just got back from Scotland and she brought me a Scotland golf hat. So that music was great. I have no why complain? Life is great. We're on the Golfertainment George and the Florida Insurance Men podcast. And I'm Golfertainment George. And let me introduce you to my co-hosts, the Florida Insurance Men in the upper right. Well, I'm not sure where you're seeing them on your screen, but to me, the upper right corner of my screen has Patrick Wraight. He is a Florida Insurance Man and director of the Academy of Insurance via the Insurance Journal. In my lower right, we've got Kevin Amrhein, who is the president and CEO of the Florida Insurance School of Continuing Education. My other co-host, Kevin Amrhein, welcome. And we have an amazing guest today. I'm not even sure how to introduce you. You are the president of National Insurance Inspection Services, and you're known by other names as well, which we'll get to. But ladies and gentlemen, Curtis Goldsborough, welcome to the Golfertainment George and the Florida Insurance Men podcast. You're in California, but you're still welcome. So,
yeah, no, I appreciate that. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. So I think it'll be a fun conversation.
Absolutely. Right back at you. So we're in May, and Patrick, one of our main topics today was hurricane preparation, I guess from an insurance standpoint, but also from a Florida Insurance Man standpoint. Can you talk to us about the season? Welcome to the season, and what can you talk about today with insurance?
Happy hurricane season, everybody. We're about 3 weeks out or so from really what some people think of as the most wonderful time of the year in Florida, and that's hurricane season. One of the reasons that I thought we could kind of bring this topic up is, first off, obviously we're getting ready for hurricane season, but as I was watching some of your content on LinkedIn, Curtis, your ice storm earlier last month very much reminded me of not just an ice storm from many years ago in my life, but hurricane season around here. There's trees down, power out, internet goes crazy, cell phone signals are terrible. So what are 2 or 3 important pieces of equipment we need to have with us for hurricane season and or a major ice storm hitting?
Is that a question? That's a question for
me,
Patrick?
Yeah, throw that at you.
Yes, please.
Because I saw
both hurricanes and ice storms.
Let's start by asking the guy from Michigan about hurricane prep. Let's
go. Absolutely.
I love it. Well, I guess here are my takeaways and learnings, right, from the first ice storm of this magnitude in my lifetime. But I fortuitously had a brand new generator in the box that had been stuffed in the corner of my garage for over 2 years that I had never used. And so that was very, we felt very fortunate to have that, because there was a massive rush and run on generators. Literally the day after the storm, you could not find a generator in any store, within 200 miles of here. So yeah, that kind of alternative means of power was absolutely essential for us, because obviously in an ice storm and with the temperatures being what it was, pipes freezing were a major issue when you don't have power, and therefore you don't have heat. Right. So, I think that was definitely the main thing, and a big learning experience.
Yeah, and one of the things that we have for hurricane season is making sure you've got a generator nearby to get some electricity and maybe run some fans. The opposite thing in hurricane season is we aren't trying to keep anything warm. Everything's already warm. It's just trying to find some way to cool anything down.
Right.
Is the thing. Kevin, are you ready for hurricane season?
Always ready. And by that I mean never ready. I'm never prepared. Every year I look at my house, I think about all the things my house could use to better prepare us, and then I don't do those things, and then we just keep our fingers crossed and wait, because I live in Tallahassee, Florida. So for anybody that's watching or listening that doesn't know their Florida geography very well, we're in kind of the central eastern panhandle of Florida. And no disrespect to those who have suffered tremendously from hurricanes, particularly when they get inland, like the good people in North Carolina experienced last year with indescribable flooding. If you pay attention to the tracking, which is the last couple of storm seasons, and you don't know where Tallahassee is, just look at the cone for any Florida landfall, and Tallahassee is going to be in the middle of that. So if you see the cone, just look in the center. Now, we've been very fortunate for some late in the game toggles to the east, which is unfortunate. That's the thing with hurricanes. You feel like you pray and pray and pray, go somewhere else, go somewhere else, go somewhere else. And then, of course, you realize your humanity settles in. And if it goes somewhere else, that's somebody else. So it brings out the worst in people occasionally. But what do you do? I'm in the insurance business. I follow all the things I try to practice all the things I preach and hope for the best. It's really all we can do. So we're ready. We're as ready as we can be.
As ready as ever, right?
Ready as we can be. And, hopefully the universe will give us a break this year. I think we could all use one.
We still have downed trees in the back of the property from last season. So
us as well. Yeah, you're not alone. You give up after a while. You're like, I'm just going to stay there. I don't care anymore. You start naming the trees after the hurricane that knocked them down.
Yeah.
That's Irma. There's Helene. Not Hermine. That was 2016.
No.
Helene.
So
you got to, they get jealous if you call them the wrong name.
Well, I think a couple of things that we're uniting cultures across the country here with, because no matter what the catastrophe or the peril, a generator always comes in handy. Couple of don'ts for hurricane prep, and I'm sure for ice storm prep, is running indoor generators without carbon monoxide detectors. I would think that's another don't. And hanging out near windows. Or I guess we could do a would you rather round, which is would you rather hang outside of a window during a hurricane or an ice storm? I'm ice storm. I'm team ice storm, but what do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely say team ice storm, although we certainly had lots of trees down on houses and vehicles all over, but I think the odds are definitely in your favor to choose the ice storm there.
Well, may the odds ever be in your favor.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. One of the things, just from a coverage standpoint, obviously being an insurance themed podcast here, one thing that I always tell people, because years and years in the insurance business, we still run into certain things that even seasoned insurance vets don't know. So I won't spend the limited time we have here entertaining everybody with policy language and just rattling off a bunch of policy language, because I know how much everybody loves that. But trees. I teach classes about this. People in class ask great questions. They clearly don't know how the policies are designed to handle anything related to trees. So if there's no other takeaways from this conversation, good insurance people out there, whatever you sell, commercial, personal lines, auto insurance, whatever it is, just brush up your knowledge on how the coverage will or won't respond to anything related to a tree, whether it falls on a house, whether it falls in the yard and doesn't actually break anything, falls on a car, falls on your neighbor's house, driveway, whatever. Just make sure you're ready for that, because those things are going to happen. And obviously people expect us to know the answer. All right, there, I said my piece. Insurance teacher pedestal. I just stepped off.
No, it's a good segue into our first sponsor, Kevin. So in the spirit of teaching insurance professionals how to get insureds ready for trees and the naming thereof, and in the spirit of not ever being ready for a hurricane, this segment was brought to you by the FISCE. And Kevin, could you tell us a little more about the FISCE school?
Yeah, well, obviously, considering I just got done talking about how unprepared the people in my classes are for things that happen in Florida every single year, maybe you shouldn't do business with the FISC. Maybe you should go learn from We're
that's
obviously
before,
not
that's
doing
before
a
they come to you, right? That's before.
Yeah. I just realized what I just said. Like to all the people in my. Anyway, I think we do a nice job. Patrick is one of our instructors, so blame him. Folks, our school is in Florida. It's the Florida Insurance School of Continuing Education. However, we do have partnerships with many state associations outside of Florida. So if you are interested in live webinar continuing education, all of our classes are done on the virtually, but they are live presentations. You're going to see the instructor talking. You can interact with the instructor. If you're a Florida licensee, go to fisce.com, the website that you see there. And you can register directly. But if you're not a Florida licensee, if you are a member of your state Independent Agents Association, Professional Agents Association, go to their education schedule. You'll probably see some of our classes there, and you'll be able to get CE credit for the state that you're licensed in. So lots of different stuff on commercial lines, personal lines, life, health, financial topics, a lot of instructors. We'd love to have you. Thanks.
Fantastic, Kevin. Reach out to the FISCE or FISCE.com and the contact information thereof or therein. And Kevin and his staff 24/7 will be happy to help you with whatever you need. So
yeah.
Thanks, Kevin. Curtis, you're the president of National Insurance Inspection Services. You're the first president we've had on our show. So I genuflect in your general direction. Thank you. And for just being here and talking to me, I appreciate it. Can you tell us about the services that your company provides? I know you're an actuary by beginning, right? That's what you started out as, but now you're the president of a company which provides a lot of really interesting and vital insurance-related services and products. Can you tell us more about what your company does?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, one minor correction. I'm not nearly smart enough to have been an actuary.
Oh no! Oh,
but...
you exude actuary-nosity. So I apologize.
I mean, I talk a lot about actuaries because I'm enamored with them, and I'm jealous of their levels of intelligence. But no, yeah, National Insurance Inspection Services is the company that I'm the president of, and we focus primarily on providing underwriting data to insurance carriers, and we do that kind of as our name implies, right, through underwriting inspections. And so those are both physical boots on the ground inspectors. We have a nationwide network of inspectors that we dispatch out to properties to provide these underwriting inspection services. And now more so over the last few years, there's a big industry shift toward self-inspection, right? And so rather than sending an inspector to your policyholder's house, send them a link and enable them with their smartphone that is so incredibly powerful now to conduct their own self-inspection of their property. And obviously, the technology can guide them through that process very quickly and easily. And there's a lot of benefits that come along with that we could dive into. But again, at the end of the day, we're providing underwriting data, and that is really on two fronts, right? From a pure risk assessment perspective, right? Identifying any heightened areas of risk that may be present on a property from either a liability side or, increased likelihood of property damage claims. And then on the replacement cost valuation side, right? Just ensuring that proper ITV for carriers. So the data that we generate via inspection, either physical field inspection or self-inspection, is assisting carriers in both of those regards.
Now, do you see a lot of issues? Do you see insureds who say, I'm not doing this. I'm not going out and self-inspecting my own property so that you can bump up my insurance rates, you evil insurance company, you?
Yeah, it's a fascinating question, Patrick, and it's really, really interesting, what we've learned over the past few years, on that topic, and then also how it continues to evolve over time, right? Mm-hmm. So just to give you like a rough sense, right? We have 16 carriers that are on our self-inspection platform today, in full production. And so, we're processing many tens of thousands of self-inspections every single month. And so we have a ton of data and have learned a lot as anyone does when you're kind of launching something new, right? And self-inspection is obviously brand new to the industry, on the whole. So yeah, I mean, we have carriers kind of across the spectrum in terms of policyholder adoption, right? And really what I like to say, as I'm talking to our carrier partners or carriers that are thinking about self-inspection, you can get as much out of it as you're willing to put into it, right? We've kind of built the technology and the platform side to facilitate, and we've been iterating on it now for 7 years, and I'm biased, but I think we have the best product out there from a user experience perspective. We really have that dialed in. But what we can't do, what we don't control is, education and pre-notification and essentially setting expectations for a policyholder, right? We don't control that communication channel, from where we sit. And so with all of that to say, Patrick, to get back to your point, right? We have some carriers, that struggle to get 40% of their policyholders to complete a self-inspection. That's on the low end, right? On the other end of the spectrum, we have some carriers that are over 85% now participation from their policyholders. So, and beyond that, I would say that participation across that entire spectrum is continuing to improve naturally over time, right? As homeowners and just society in general becomes more accustomed to self-service digital workflows, right? Across, various parts of life, right? Whether that's, installing your new cable, right? Or whatever. Like, so many industries are creating these self-service options, and people are taking advantage of those more and more. Some of it is a demographic shift, right? That certainly plays into it. But at the same time, we have folks from, say, the older generations who are completing self-inspections all the time, right? So it really does transcend that. So yeah, it's really all about setting expectations, and carriers are continuing to see improvement in that regard as they work on their kind of educational pieces, right? And it's a multi-step process, right? You have to educate your distribution channels, right, so that they in turn can educate the policyholder, and that's where we're seeing the strongest adoption.
Outstanding.
Kevin,
that's fascinating. Sorry, George, go ahead.
No, you answered my question that I was going to ask you directly, Kevin, which is, do you think that this is more and more important as we need to educate insureds and insurers and carriers about
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with. I think it's fascinating what you're doing, Curtis. I love it. And it would be nice if this would have been something that we have been focused more on over the years, but that's not really the case with insurance. We just kind of wait for bad things to happen. And this is I've been a proponent, obviously, for a long time of mitigation, risk management, all the above. And that's exactly what you're trying to do. I think it's really great.
Curtis, can your products make it so that a window in a hurricane or an ice storm, when it's opened and somebody tries to open it so they can stick their head out the window, can your product set an alarm off that dissuades people from doing so, or alerts other people in the household?
Not in its current form, but I appreciate that may be $1 million idea there. So
you can have that as a guest on our show. Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Hey,
wow.
We're here. Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, we're so glad to have you here, and it's very executive branchy of you to be with us. Appreciate it. So the technology thing, is that something you're developing more, or education in any form? What's is technology the future of your company?
Yeah, I think it's honestly both fronts, right? The technology certainly continues to evolve. Obviously I'd be remiss in, not mentioning the AI aspect, right? But, at the end of the day, there is, there's only so much that AI can do, right? I think it has great applications in specific areas, and, quite frankly, it has horrible applications in other areas, right? And I think that's the tension that the industry is dealing with now as it continues to evolve. But I'm super excited about the educational side of things, and to Kevin's point, what continuing to realize more and more is, you know, historically, right, traditionally throughout history, the vast majority of any insurance education that is happening or was happening, right, you know, happened between an agent and a policyholder, right, one of their clients. And I think what we've seen, you know, to a very significant degree, I was just talking to an agent in North Carolina last week, and it's been, you know, it's been 17 years since I was an agent, right? Like I spent 5 years as an agent. That was kind of my baptism and introduction into the industry. I was a captive agent here in Michigan, and but even then, right? Like, and again, this is rural northern Michigan, small town, right? And I know that plays into it, but I mean, 85% of my business back then was done face to face, right? You know, people would come into the office, or I would go to their house and sit down at the kitchen table, right? And sell them insurance, right? And you know, and that gave good opportunity to educate people, right? And to talk, you know, dive deeper into their coverages, and you know, and talk to varying degrees about you know, risk management and mitigation and steps that they could take to minimize their own personal risk, right? And now, as I talk to like, that has shifted, right? COVID obviously changed a lot. Mm-hmm. But you know, I was talking to, this is an agent in North Carolina that's got, you know, 6 offices around the state, and he said it's basically the exact opposite. He said 85% of our sales now are done completely digitally, right, or over the phone, and so that's a challenge, right? It is a challenge to be able to, you know, have the opportunity to introduce that educational piece when you're not face to face with someone. So all of that to say, you know, what we are realizing more and more is when we have the opportunity to engage a policyholder in a digital workflow, right, you know, through a mobile app, and we're walking through a self-inspection of their own property, like, you've captured that attention, right? And their attention is incredibly valuable from an educational perspective, right? And so, you know, that's one of the things that I'm incredibly excited about is, hey, how can we leverage this self-inspection process and insert as much education as we can? And I think, you know, interestingly, where the technology can really complement that, I think, and even improve the educational experience more is, you know, and we're starting to scratch the surface of this. It's going to be really interesting to see how it evolves in the next few years. But, you know, when we can combine the AI aspect and the computer vision aspect to provide tailored real-time education based on their specific situation and scenario, right? So, you know, think like, hey, snap a photograph of your water heater, right? Snap a photograph of your water heater label. And then in real time, you know, through computer vision, right, we can, you know, analyze, you know, that water heater data, right? What's the year, make, and model, that type of thing. And then instantly give them real-time feedback, right? Hey, your water heater is 15 years old, right? And based on, you know, the manufacturer and whatnot, this needs to be replaced because this is an imminent water damage threat, right? So, you know, and extrapolate that across, you know, all of the risk factors that you might think of, right? You know, we're super excited about some of the things we're working on in relation to wildfire around this, right? Obviously, our company's based in California, and so we're very much in tune with that. And so, again, being able to provide real-time tailored educational information around mitigation measures is something that we're really excited, you know, about moving towards.
Absolutely. Thank you, Curtis. And in the spirit of educating people, not just between the insurers and the insureds, but educating the insurers on educating the insureds and making sure that that insurers are equipped with the right educational wherewithal. Patrick, can you tell us about our next sponsor, which is the Insurance Journal's Academy of Insurance?
Yeah, so the Academy of Insurance exists as an online learning platform. We don't provide CE organically. We work with experts from around the insurance world, Kevin being one of them. and we provide insurance learning for folks an hour at a shot. One of the things that I'm proud of that we did this year was we piloted a new to insurance program where we gave to folks that were new to the industry, new to an insurance job, access to some free and fast insurance learning. And so if you're interested in that, it's ijacademy.com/insurance-101. I think that's the right website.
I think so too. Well, that's fantastic, Patrick. Thank you so much for that. The Insurance Journal's Academy of Insurance, it's the place to be for on-demand insurance courses. Absolutely. Kevin live, Patrick on demand. Of course, the Insurance Journal Academy has a weekly live webinar too. So that's fun. Curtis.
And we'll have Kevin coming up here pretty quick.
Yeah. I got a couple things on the schedule for you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we'll have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to go to ijacademy.com, look for live courses, and you'll see a couple of upcoming ones that Kevin is going to be teaching. There's a Monty Python routine where an accountant wants to become a lion tamer, and he goes to a vocational expert, and the vocational is like, do you want to jump from that to lion taming? He's like, yes, I want to start taming. He's like, well, maybe you can gradually work up to it via banking or insurance. He literally says insurance. And of course he doesn't know that a lion isn't, he thinks an anteater is a lion and whatever. But I love the idea of two disparate kinds of occupations coming together, and I love the growing grassroots subculture of insurance entertainment. That is, I feel like taking the insurance world by a very quiet storm. We talked about hurricane prep, and at the beginning of a particular video I recently saw was dedicated to all those impacted by hurricanes Helene and Milton, and to the incredible insurance professionals working tirelessly to enable recovery. It's a song or a piece. Would you say it's a song called "Insurance People" by up and coming rapper Loss Ratio? And I don't even know if it's up and coming. You may have already arrived. Yes, exactly. How does one come, because I was sort of researching as we were going to do a segment on, because we do segments on golf movies, things like that. So I was looking at golf /insurance/rap and how those cultures meet. And I love the fact that it hasn't really happened with insurance. With rappers can do videos or have done videos with golf as a status thing, recreational thing that they do, but there hasn't been a lot of intersections between the insurance world and the rap world. But here we are where the arcs of these stories are crossing, because our guest, Curtis Goldsborough, the president of National Insurance Inspection Services, also has been known in certain circles as Loss Ratio. So I was the insurance rapper, and if you've been introduced as that many times, that's not the way to go. I apologize, but Curtis, amazing. How did you come to also be Loss Ratio? Did you love insurance rapping as a kid and kind of work that up? Like, tell us about how that happens, please.
Oh my. Yeah, no, it really is. I think it's equally as fascinating to me as it is to most people, because
yeah,
because I did not have any rapping aspirations. I actually have a very musical family, but very traditional and more on the religious faith-based side of the spectrum. So I actually sang in a barbershop quartet, sang a lot of Southern gospel back in my college days, and honestly did not listen to any rap, and I still don't listen to much rap, to be honest with you. But I do enjoy it. It's fun. It's something very different. And so I've kind of embraced it. Right. And it has, it's been incredible. It is a creative outlet for me primarily, and certainly opens up, a lot of doors to have meaningful conversations And so, as long as I enjoy it and I'm having fun, I'm going to keep doing it. So,
Folks, I got to say, I've been down a rabbit hole watching loss ratios content on LinkedIn, and I know several of the people that are commenting on your videos. These are people I've worked with for a long time, and you're getting the attention of some C-suite level heavy hitters in our business. This isn't just a bunch of, this isn't some little side cult, for lack of a better word, that has to find some subthread to find Curtis's material. He's getting not only views from, but also commentary from people that are at very high places in this industry, that are always positive and are always taking part in the conversation, whatever it is that you're rapping about or riffing about, or not, whatever you're doing in the videos. And again, it speaks to what you're doing, man. It obviously it's incredibly entertaining, but there's so much insurance content value in what you're doing as well. So, I mean, kudos to you, my friend. It's awesome stuff. Please continue. Don't retire.
We, I think it was was it last week or this week? You had a commentary on some a push in California for more regulation, the stacking of the reams of paper.
Yeah.
Yes. It just,
very powerful visual.
3-4 minutes of content explaining a relatively complex subject in a way that's accessible, not just from insurance people, but the consumer out there who can get it. And the fact is that with this persona and this way of going about, you're telling the story in a way that connects. And I think we really appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
I appreciate that. And it is, I say it over and over again, but it is, it is a creative outlet for me. I really, really enjoy it. If I didn't, I wouldn't be, burning the candle at both ends to make time to make it all happen, because it is incredibly, time intensive. But, at the end of the day, I understand, I feel like, more clearly every day that, the world is changing very rapidly. It has and continues to change. Continues to evolve, and I'm feel acutely aware of the fact that the insurance industry must evolve along with it, to remain viable and sustainable. And it impacts every corner of everyday life in modern society, and most people don't understand that, right? And I wouldn't expect them to. But if I can be some small voice to spark thoughts, spark conversation, hopefully educate, in some small way. And this is, one thing that I kind of struggle with, even more recently, is figuring out, who my audience is, right? Because generally speaking, I've got a YouTube channel, right? But that is not where, 98% of my content is consumed on LinkedIn, because that's kind of been my primary platform. And my audience has primarily been insurance people, right? That's, kind of where it really resonates. But I guess to your point, Patrick, and I'd be curious to, to get more thoughts and insight from you guys on this. But I think, bridging that content over to, consumers at large, who ultimately, desperately need to be educated, right, on the dynamics that are at play, and being able to shift mindsets from a place of confusion, right, which often leads to and sometimes anger, right, or just frustration, that I think we've all felt ourselves to varying degrees, over the years, and shifting that to a place of understanding, right, and realizing that, hey, the world has evolved, and the insurance that we've known for the past 5 decades is not the insurance that's going to carry us for the next 5 decades.
Right.
So, and again, I think, to your points, the challenge there, I think the challenge that all of us face, from an educational perspective, and this is not just in the insurance realm, but much broader than that, is how do we capture the attention, right, and engage, a next generation, whether that's insurance professionals or whether that's consumers at large. I think that's what's challenging, and I'm excited to be able to have some measure of success anyway in kind of bridging that gap.
Guys, Curtis, I'm sorry, George. I'm going to say something real quick here. I hate to do this because I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation. Curtis, it's been awesome talking with you, but this is the live component of what we're doing here. I got a 10-year-old who's got a school play starting in a little while. So I bid you adieu, ladies and gentlemen out there watching. And guys, it's been my pleasure. Please, as you were, I'm going to cut out. And Curtis, great to meet you, my friend.
Thanks
Keep
so much, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Curtis, I have one more quick question before we go, and that is, first of all, thank you. And I'm running your website and your YouTube channel on the bottom of the screen. Will you ever play out loss ratio live anywhere? Like the ITC, you mentioned them at the end of your video. Will we see a live performance of insurance people somewhere?
There have been talks of this, and nothing confirmed as of yet, but it seems like the people are speaking more and more loudly and beginning to get to demand live performances. So
absolutely,
we'll see how that plays out.
Keep us posted, please. Curtis Goldsborough, Loss Ratio. It was a fantastic conversation with you. Thank you for visiting the Golfertainment George and the Florida Insurance Man podcast. Patrick, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you both. Really appreciate it. So on behalf of everybody, this is your host, Golfertainment George, saying thanks everyone for coming. We'll see you next time. You see this video on LinkedIn, share it. Get the word out about Loss Ratio. We want this thing to scale, or whatever you would say in the rap industry. I don't know what they say downtown, Curtis, but keep us hip, So thanks everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, everybody.
Want more Golfertainment? The podcast is available on InsuranceJournal.tv, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Check out the weekly Insurance Journal Academy classes and after show.